If you follow the channel, you know I'm on the constant search for the perfect Wi-Fi security camera system. I said it in my last video. I've been on that search for 15 years since I started SilverHammer Surveillance. So today, I thought I'd go to the top of the Wi-Fi security camera food chain, which is Reolink, and try their new 4K pan tilt camera. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's get to it. What up, everybody? It's George Langabeer with SilverHammer Surveillance, coming to you once again from Voltage Studio. Here on the channel, we talk smart home tech, we talk home security, we have videos weekly. Follow me on the socials, specifically Instagram, where I give you a little more insight into the man behind SilverHammer Surveillance. We talk smart home, we talk home security, we talk all sorts of stuff on Instagram. Check us out there as well. Today, we're talking home security and the smart home. We're talking smart security. We're talking a 4K pan tilt camera from Reolink. Who is Reolink? I will tell you that Reolink's been protecting people with their cameras for a long time. They are sometimes polarizing to professional installers. Now, I'm not one of them. I've been a believer for a long time, but they're looked at as the competition, I think, for some professional installers. Now, that's on the wired camera side specifically. Today, we're talking Wi-Fi cameras, and as far as that goes, they have always been at the top of the food chain as far as I'm concerned. So again, we're talking a 4K pan tilt camera. It's called the TrackMix, and we're going to unbox it. We're going to talk price and specs, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. So let's get to it with the unboxing. Okay, so now that we've unboxed, let's move on to price and specs. Before we do that, I do want to thank Reolink for sending me this camera. Very cool of them. But of course, I'm going to give you my unbiased review, as I always do. But in addition to the review that they asked me to do, they also asked if I'd mention their Black Friday deals. Black Friday coming up, of course, I want you to have a bargain. So yes, I'll mention it. So their deals are from November 17th to November 27th. Get up to 40% off on the Reolink website and up to 33% off on the Amazon website. So check that out. I'll have the links in the description below, affiliate links, and also a link to the Amazon deals page. So check that out in the description. Moving on to price and specs. All right, so this is the Reolink TrackMix Wi-Fi camera. It is a 4K camera. It is a dual lens camera, means that it has a wide angle lens and a telephoto lens. So that's awesome. So the telephoto is going to be your zoom. The wide angle is going to be your main view. And it is pan tilt. So you almost have a 360-degree pan tilt. And that dual view also gives you dual tracking, meaning that when there's a person in the frame, it will track on both those lenses. So that's pretty sweet. Once again, it is 4K. That equates to 8 megapixels, which is Ultra HD resolution. Now, there are 4 different versions of this camera. There's the Wi-Fi camera that we're talking about here today. There's a PoE version, power over Ethernet. There's also a 4G network version, and then there's a battery version where you can also use a solar panel. Now, again, this is the Wi-Fi version, and it is dual band. So it's 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, which is awesome. As far as the pan tilt goes, you got 355 degrees horizontal spin and 90 degrees vertical. So it's pretty close to 360 degrees on that pan tilt. You've got smart AI detection, which is people, vehicles, and pets. You got two-way audio, so you'll be able to hear the person outside. They'll also be able to hear you through the camera. You got 2 night vision modes, so you got 2 IRs for black and white night vision. Then you've also got 2 spotlights, and when those spotlights are on, you have full color night vision. So it's great that you have both those options. One of my favorite features is it has a time-lapse feature. You know, the old school Nest cameras had this, and I loved using it, especially in some of our apartments with the cool views we've had. I love the time-lapse option, so it's awesome that this is not only a security camera, but you can also have some fun with it. It has a rugged housing with an IP65 weather rating, Reolink does say it's completely waterproof. It is rated -10 degrees Celsius to 55 degrees Celsius or 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is the weather rating. You've got multiple recording options. You can do 24/7 recording, you can do motion recording, or you can do scheduled recording. To go along with that, you have 2 storage options, both which are free. You can use up to a 256 gig SD card, that's micro SD, or you can use a Reolink NVR and use this with your full-blown Reolink NVR system. The camera is compatible with Google Assistant and Lady A, Amazon. Unfortunately, no Apple Home. Wah. I seem to be crying those tears a lot. Come on, Apple. Let's get some more Apple Home cameras. Okay, so that's the price and specs. Let's talk about how it integrates into the Reolink app. All right, so you're going to get the Reolink app in the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS App Store. Once you do, you sign up for an account, you add your device. I'm not going to go into the installation because it was very easy to install, under 5 minutes. The Reolink app takes you through the whole thing. You just got to hit that plus button and add a device. As far as the app goes, I'm going to stick to the actual camera part of the app because there's a lot of other stuff that we don't need to cover in the interest of time. But there's your camera. If you had several cameras, they'd all be listed here. That first icon right above the camera splits your view between the wide angle lens and the telephoto lens, or you can have them combined there. And then if you go into the settings wheel, you've got all your main settings. So there's the information about your camera, tells you the information about your Wi-Fi network. If you go to display, you can change different display features like flip vertically, flip horizontal, your stream. You can change it between the full resolution, which is 4K, down to fluent. So if your internet requires it, you can drop it. Anti-flicker, you can switch that between 50 Hertz and 60 Hertz, which is cool. Day and night, you can switch that between black and white, color, and auto. So that's your night vision. And then you can control the brightness of the image. You can control where the camera name is on the screen. So that's top left, top right, bottom center, bottom right, or hide it. And then you can also get rid of the watermark, which is the Reolink logo. You can also control where the date is. So you got a lot of control over the actual image itself. So you got a privacy mask where you can mask out different areas. So that's for neighbors and such, so it won't record in that area. And then you can do brightness and shadows, but you also have advanced. Under advanced, you've got a threshold. That's really not an important feature for most people. So I'm going to skip that. Going back from display, we're going to go to audio. This is where you can control whether or not you're recording audio. You can control the volume of the camera. You can also do noise reduction if you're in a noisy area to get rid of some of that background noise. Under light, this is another way you can control the night vision. So you've got the infrared lights, which is black and white, and you've got the spotlight, which gets you the color. Just keep in mind when you do the color, you are going to have spotlights on your camera. So if you don't want to annoy your neighbors or whatever, just keep that in mind. Detection alarm, you can do the non-detection zone, so it will not detect in those areas. You can do a motion mark, which is in beta. Sensitivity, you can control not only the sensitivity of the recording, but you can do it for each type of detection, person, vehicles, and pets, which is awesome. A lot of cameras need that feature, and I think it's great that this one has it. You can do an alarm delay, so this does have an alarm that will sound. You can set that delay, and you can do that for people, vehicles, and pets. You can control the object size, whether it's person, vehicles, or pets. This just has a ton of optimization you can do for the AI detection, which is freaking awesome. Auto tracking, you can turn that on and off. And again, this will auto track for people, vehicles, and pets, where a lot of cameras will only do it for the people, but you can turn that on, and that's where you can go in the tracking type and select what you want it to track. Tracking method, you can either do it with a pan tilt or digitally. Has a horizontal tracking range, so you can control the range that will track. And then you can also put the tracking in a schedule. So there's just a ton of customization you can do here, and I just love it. Camera recording, you can turn that on or off. You can do a schedule. You can control the post motion record, so that way if somebody's standing still, it'll still record for a certain duration after they do stand still, so that way you don't miss anything. You can toggle on the overwrite recordings, so that way you don't have to go in there and clear out your SD card. It will just always overwrite. There you can control your push notifications, that's for your phone, and then you can control whether or not you want email alerts. FTP, you can turn that on or off. You can do that on a schedule, and then you can turn your siren on or off, and then other Reolink devices that are in this app, you can set up automations. It's kind of like automations, and that's where you can do that with linked devices. You can share your camera with your family, and then there's that cool time-lapse feature, which I love to use just for fun. But you do have to have an SD card in the camera for that feature, so keep that in mind. And then the advanced tab, that's just an advanced tab, just like it says, and we're just not going to go into that at the moment because most people aren't going to use that. When you go to the actual camera and you're using it, this is the screen that you'll be on. So you've got the icons on the top right, you've got the icons down below on the bottom of the image, and then all the way down at the below on the screen. If you kind of single tap to get those icons on the image, you've got pause, you've got your audio, you've got a still picture, and you've got a video clip, and then you can also go full screen. If you go to those options on the top, you got your light, you've got your siren, you've got your settings wheel, and you've got your day and night. So that's another way to control your night vision. We already went into the settings, so I'm not going to do that. But again, you can turn on your spotlights and such. At the very bottom, that's where you can talk through the camera. This is where you have your PTZ functions, and you can go left and right and up and down. You can have predetermined targets, or you can just set a predetermined target where the camera always goes back to. That's what the icons are right below the image. You can also control your zoom and your speed on this screen. So that's the functions when you're actually in the camera. And then we already covered the settings in the app. Okay, so that's the Reolink app. Pretty loaded with features, very robust. Love their app. Moving on to my review of this camera. What do I think about it? With some pros and some cons, starting with my pros. And I gotta say, this is a pretty nice list of pros. Number one, we got that 4K resolution. To have a pan tilt camera with 4K at $139.99, pretty freaking sweet. Can't go wrong there. So that's pro number one. Moving on to that dual lens and that dual tracking. I love having that wide angle lens and the telephoto lens with that zoom, and then you've got that dual tracking to track a person with both. Now, it does take some getting used to, these dual lens cameras, and they're starting to become more and more of a thing. I said this when I reviewed a Eufy pan tilt camera a couple videos ago. So you just got to get used to it. But once you do, they're pretty awesome. I love the dual night vision options. Now you've got the black and white with IR, and you have color with spotlights. Now people will ask me, why would I ever use black and white when I have the color option? Well, this building is a perfect example as to why. So outside of our apartment, we've got this driveway that goes into our building, into the garage, and there's a lot of cars that pass by. We also have a tree out here where a lot of people walk their dogs, and if I got those spotlights on all the time, it can be annoying to those people. And I also have a lot of natural light. We've got building lights and parking lights, and so sometimes I don't even need that color night vision. So I can just switch to that black and white, no problem. Now, if it's a time of night where there's not many cars going through, then I'd probably switch to that color. But again, that's why you'd want those two options. I'm a perfect example of it. Another huge pro is the build quality. When it comes to cameras, especially at this price point, there are not too many cameras, especially a pan tilt camera, that are built like this one. It does have a nice rugged housing. It's not just cheap plastic up above where the meat of the camera is. Now it's a plastic lens, but most cameras are a plastic lens when it comes to pan tilt cameras. So this is much more like a high-end pan tilt camera, which I love. Pretty awesome. It's very cool that you have flexible storage options. You can do the micro SD card or the NVR, and guess what? They're both free. I think that's spectacular. But pretty cool that you can take this Wi-Fi camera and put it in a full-blown Reolink system and use the NVR with it as well. I love that. I mentioned this once before, but the time-lapse feature. To have that time-lapse built in, it's just fun. Like I said, we used to have a penthouse down here in downtown Omaha. I used my old Nest camera with the time-lapse all the time just to make cool videos. Now, we've got a decent view back here, nothing like that one, but I'll use that time-lapse feature just for fun. This camera has great AI detection, which is people, vehicles, and pets. I got to test all three here because behind our apartment, we have a driveway that goes into the garage. There's vehicles all the time. We also have an area here where people walk their dogs a lot. So I got the people there, and I also got the pets. Now, I didn't try cats, but it had pets, at least dogs, spot on. Had the vehicle spot on, and what I was impressed by is we have this little box you drive up to where you put your little card reader to open the garage door. It was even getting people's faces in their car as they're going past that reader, and even at night. So you're just barely seeing their face, and they're putting their arm out to put their reader out. It was still detecting those people along with the vehicles. I thought that was awesome. So the AI detection on this camera is very impressive. Now, I've said this before, I say this in almost every review of Wi-Fi cameras that have two-way audio. You want it to be great, it's never great. I will say this is probably the best two-way audio I've heard on a Wi-Fi camera. It's still not the greatest in the world. You're still not going to hear it across your yard, but you're going to hear it pretty close to this camera. And when you do, it was crystal clear and it was spot on. So not great distances, but when you can hear it, it was good. And I can't say that about a lot of Wi-Fi cameras. So good job, Reolink, on the two-way audio.
Testing, 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 testing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? How does it sound? How does it sound? Testing, testing, testing. Am I jarbled? How loud is that? Testing, testing, testing.
And it was really good as far as hearing people. You know, a lot of times with these dog walkers, I hear them on their phones, or there's two of them walking their dogs and I hear them talking. I could hear that very well. When I'm talking about, as far as it not being good a lot of times on Wi-Fi cameras, is when you're talking back. And in the case of this camera, it was pretty good, just not at great distances. And then my last pro is that it just has really good alerts, you know, for the people, the vehicles, and the pets. I've got good internet here, so I really didn't have much delay. The camera worked pretty flawlessly, but yeah, the alerts were just spot on my watch, my phone, whatever it may be, even my iPad. So awesome alerts. Okay, so that's my list of pros, a pretty nice list, like I said. Moving on to the cons, and there's only two of them. The first one, this does have a good weather rating at IP65, and they do say it's completely waterproof, but I'm worried about the cold temperatures. Starting at 14 degrees Fahrenheit, you know, here in Nebraska, it gets -20, -30 wind chills. I want it to be a little lower than that 14 degrees. Warm climates, it doesn't matter. 131 degrees, that's a great top temperature, but I'm worried about that low temperature. So only time will tell as I test this through the winter. It's only got in the 20s here in Nebraska so far, and it did fine for that, but I haven't got below 14 degrees Fahrenheit to truly tell you if that is a con or not, but I'm a little worried about it. Second con, Apple Home. And again, this isn't necessarily a Reolink thing. They do have the Google Assistant. They do have Amazon Alexa. And, you know, it might be more of an Apple thing than a Reolink thing. Again, Reolink is a true security camera company, not necessarily a smart home company. So I can see why it's not a thing with a lot of their cameras, but I wish it was, just as a personal preference. And again, this is a personal preference. If you're not an Apple person, this does not matter to you. So that brings me to the fact that this is pretty darn close to the perfect Wi-Fi camera. What an exceptional value. And I'm just saying this because they sent it to me. You know, I tell you like it is. $139.99 for a pan tilt camera at 4K that has a rugged housing like this, because most of them are just cheap plastic at this price. I'm pretty freaking impressed. The dual night vision, the dual lenses, and to have all that packed in at this price, this is pretty close. I would say if this had Apple Home integration, this would be my camera. This would be the one I'd be recommending to everyone, especially since there's 4 different models. You got the Wi-Fi, you got the PoE, you got the 4G, you got the battery camera. It's awesome. They have that sort of flexibility. So good job, Reolink, and what an exceptional value. Speaking of that, check out the links in the description below for the Black Friday deals, the affiliate links. I think you'll get some great deals in the next couple of days from Reolink, both from their website and from Amazon. But what do you think? Are you a Reolink fan? What's your favorite Reolink camera? Or what's your go-to Wi-Fi camera? Because again, I'm looking for all of us. Give me something to test, because I'll test it. Let me know in the comments what you'd be interested in or what you think of Reolink. All right, so for returning subscribers, I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again. You know I love you. We've been through a lot with my health battles. For you to be patient with me and stick with me, and the comments and support I've received from you, I truly do love you. New subscribers, welcome to the party. This is what we're all about, home security and the smart home. Keep coming back for more. We appreciate you too, more than you'll ever know. So until the next video, for all of you, peace and love, y'all.